You're listening to Quantum Conversations with Karen Curry Parker. Join us as we explore new frontiers in consciousness, science, and evolution. And now here's your host, Karen Curry Parker.
There is an intricate web of energy binding us all together under the same sky, unifying us beyond the perceived separateness of our human experience, all of our hearts beating as one. Many people think this sounds like wishful thinking, but scientists are now learning that this statement is indeed true. The heart actually acts as a separate brain, if you will. Most of us learned in school that the function of the heart is to pulse and push oxygenated blood through the circulatory system, but the heart is so much more than that. Scientists now know that the heart possesses its own intrinsic nervous system, a network of nerves so functionally sophisticated as to earn the description of heart-brain. Containing over 40,000 neurons, this little brain gives the heart the ability to independently sense, process information, make decisions, and even to demonstrate a type of learning and memory. In essence, it actually seems that the heart is truly an intelligent system. Research has also revealed that the heart is a hormonal gland, manufacturing and secreting numerous hormones and neurotransmitters that profoundly affect brain and body function. Among the hormones the heart produces is oxytocin, well known as the love hormone. Not only have we expanded our scientific understanding of the function of the heart, we're now discovering that our hearts do literally beat as one, and that our hearts have a resonance field that can impact and influence the hearts of the people around us. Please join me for a powerful quantum conversation with Howard Martin, co-author of the books The HeartMath Solution and Heart Intelligence, Connecting with the Intuitive Guidance of the Heart. You're going to hear all about the power of your heart and the science that proves that what you may have felt in your heart all along is actually true. Hi, and welcome to Quantum Conversations. I'm Karen Curry Parker, and I am just delighted tonight to be talking with Howard Martin, who is one of the original leaders who helped Dr. Childre found HeartMath, which has been the organization that has been responsible for talking about and spreading information about the power and the intelligence of the heart. HeartMath has been around since 1999. Howard Martin co-authored the HeartMath Solution, and it's really considered a classic and definitive work about the intelligence of the heart. Now, I know that when we talk tonight, what we're going to hear is that this was really probably just the beginning of the work. And I know that in the last few years, the information and the research that they've been doing at HeartMath has been increasing this foundation information that is really, I think, turning upside down the ideas that we have about how we create, how we manifest, the source of health and wellness in the body, how we manage stress, and I'm sure, as we're going to hear tonight, so much more. Thank you, Howard, for joining us tonight. I am so excited to talk to you and really pick your brain about many, many, many things that you're doing with the information that you're sharing with the world about the power of the heart.
Well, thank you, Karen. Appreciate you having me, and don't mind having my brain picked tonight. I would like, first of all, to welcome everybody that's listening who's giving us their time and attention to tune into your podcast, and hopefully they're going to get something tonight that's going to be meaningful to them. That's my goal, is to share what I can to improve the lives of others.
Thank you. Well, so I want to start first with talking about intelligence, because I think that one of the things that esoteric sciences have always talked about is getting out of the mind, and yet in the Western world, we talk so much about the intelligence and the intelligence of the mind and optimizing the brain. And here you come along with this whole new body of information, and you talk about heart intelligence. Tell us a little bit about the intelligence of the heart, and what does that mean?
Be glad to. First of all, I mean, there has been a lot of work done over the last, couple of decades, or maybe even a little longer, on what intelligence really is. Somewhere along the way, the brain got assigned to being the only source of intelligence that we have, and intelligence was being measured through our ability to memorize facts, basically, and to store those facts, and then to be able to bring them back up when we needed them. And that's a simplistic view of intelligence, or the way intelligence is being looked at. But in general, it sort of rings true to me. What we know today is intelligence shows up in many different ways, and it's distributed throughout our entire bodies, even down to the cellular intelligence. That was a hard word for me to say. The intelligence in our cells. The intelligence in our cells are even a part of our overall intelligence package. So what we discovered a long time ago through our own process of trying to be better people is that there was an aspect of our cells that seemed to be intelligent, that was the type of intelligence that was intuitive. It was high speed. It was an intelligence that gave us more of a wholeness perspective on things. It sort of looked out for things from a bigger picture perspective. It also seemed to be the birthplace of some of the emotions that we really want the most, more love and more care and more kindness and less judgment. And it was an intelligence that was providing a guidance system for how we lived our lives. And all of that was associated with heart, really. As we began to try to develop the qualities of the heart, what we found was that this type of intelligence became more pervasive in how we lived our lives. So that happened long before HeartMath. HeartMath was an organization we put together back in 1991 to formulate a system of tools and techniques and underpinned with science that we could share with the world to help people navigate through the changing times that we knew were going to be increasingly difficult for people. And so we began to look at heart very differently from that perspective, and seeing that, heart has been talked about for thousands and thousands of years. It's been assigned great importance in our lives, and yet it wasn't being looked at as intelligent. It was being looked at as more emotional, and maybe in many cases just soft, squishy emotions that weren't really relevant, to what people were experiencing. What we discovered was really we have this magnificent intelligence. It can and does lift us beyond our problems, even in the midst of chaos and confusion. That it is not soft, it is not weak, it is not just emotional, and especially it's not just sentimental. It's essential, especially during these changing times that we're all faced with today.
So talk to me about the other intelligence that I think we sometimes are learning to embrace, and that's the intelligence of the gut. And we have language that we talk about. We say, I have a gut feeling. What is the difference between gut intelligence and heart intelligence, and how do you get to where you start to feel or know what it feels like to connect with heart intelligence versus the gut?
So let me answer your question, Karen, about the difference between heart intelligence and gut intelligence by giving you some physiological understanding. First of all, the heart has a very complex nervous system. It's studied through a field called neurocardiology. Next to the brain, it's the most complex part of the nervous system that we have. Now, this nervous system in the heart communicates with the brain through a nerve pathway that starts in the heart, travels up into the brain, and enters the brain through the lower brain centers, the most instinctual part of the brain. It continues on and it goes into what's called the limbic system, the mid-level brain, where a lot of our emotional processing takes place. But then it even goes further. It goes all the way up into the highest perceptual centers of the brain in the neocortex. So this information from heart is traveling all the way to the most important parts of the brain. Now, in the area of the gut, there's also a bundle of nerves. A little gut brain exists there as well. It's far less sophisticated than the nervous system in the heart. It does communicate with the brain, but it only goes as far as the lower brain, the instinctual centers. So we get these gut instincts that are more like survivalist type instincts that we get when we're activating more of that gut brain. And we often feel it. We feel a knot like in our stomach when we're processing something. Heart intelligence and heart brain is a little different than that. It's certainly more refined than that. It's not just instinctual. It isn't just a gut feeling. It's more like a refined discrimination that we get, where we begin to see different angles on an issue or a topic or a decision, things like that, where the bandwidth, so to speak, is wider and broader than just a basic raw instinct. Yeah, sometimes we experience it in ways where we just feel something instantly, but usually that feeling has got a lot more to it than just, again, some sort of visceral reaction to an external event. So there's a gut brain, there is a heart brain, and physiologically they are very different, and they communicate with very different parts of our physical brain.
Beautiful. All right. So, in my experience, I wasn't trained how to listen to the brain in my heart. I come from a scientific background. I was trained to listen to my reason. As a mother, I think I feel like I followed my gut, maybe a little bit my heart, hopefully along the way. But how do you learn to tap into the intelligence of the heart, and why is that so important?
Well, first of all, it begins with, the best way to begin to make contact with that part of your intelligence is to self-activate uplifting regenerative emotions. Many of those emotions have often been associated with the concept of heart. For example, Karen, when we're in a more appreciative state, the world looks different.
Mm-hmm.
When we're open-hearted and appreciative, about things, then the world has a bigger picture view.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's just an example. So you can access more of a wider angle perspective that would be associated with heart intelligence through the activation of some of the emotional qualities that we have, like appreciation or care or love. They're all great for that. Adopting certain emotional characteristics or habits that begin to lend themselves more towards a connection to the heart. Then it becomes a matter of sensing and sensitivity. It becomes a matter of learning to sort of listen to those promptings that we get from the heart. Nothing quieter than the roar of the mind. It speaks more subtly. And what makes it even trickier than that is it's often saying something that we don't necessarily want to hear.
Mm.
It can be confronting, some of the things that we may have as the wants or we think we want that really aren't in our best interest. And the voice of the heart sometimes is speaking, I really do think you should let go of that resentment that you have towards that person,
No.
Exactly. And the mind comes back in, but they did so-and-so, and they did such and such, and they deserve it. And then becomes this sort of back and forth between, heart and head at that point. What's really happening is, we're an integrated intelligence system. It isn't like they're totally separate. I mean, they all work together. It's just these promptings that we get that we learn to be more sensitive to that represent heart intelligence and our ability to connect to it. As we go through life, without even knowing it, begin to experiment with that, don't we? Sometimes we think about, times in our life when we had a certain, prompting inside ourselves about something that we should do or shouldn't do, and we followed it and we realized, wow, that really worked out, in an amazing way. And we've also had those experiences where we recognize that we didn't follow it. And so through the School of Hard Knocks, we developed some of that sensitivity anyhow. And these times we can accelerate it. The HeartMath system consists of tools and techniques and technology, all underpinned with scientific research designed specifically for helping us learn how to better access something we already have inside. And that's what we do, basically. And we put that in a lot of different contexts as we go about it. I mean, you ask, why is it? Well, Karen, you asked the question of why it's important to make contact with the heart's intelligence. Well, there are a lot of reasons. First of all, life just feels better when we do. We have less stress in our life. We have the ability to see the big picture on things. Our communications can improve. Our ability to discriminate definitely increases. We make better decisions from that place. We begin to co-create a different reality for ourselves, and life gets better. It's even more important in these times because we're going through this era where we're experiencing more change in less time than ever before in the history of humankind. We are in the midst of a dimensional shift in consciousness that's driving changes beyond what we can possibly have imagined, and it's often very difficult to deal with so much change. We're going to need to marshal all the intelligence resources that we have in order to be able to navigate these times and move with more flow and more grace as we go through this era of change. It's actually an important era where we are able to grow and to evolve and to become different easier and quicker than ever before. But at the same time, everything in the world is being turned upside down, and it can be very disconcerting at times, and certainly the picture can get very cloudy. So for that reason, if no other reason, accessing all of our intelligence capacity, including the qualities associated with the heart, makes sense to me for being able to manifest fulfilling, meaningful lives in the midst of high-speed change. And heart intelligence is not about heart math. It's something larger than that. To me, it's part of the evolutionary imperative of our times. It's that important, and that's why I put so much emphasis on it.
And I love that. I think that's so true. And, certainly, if anything, just from a personal perspective of how do I manage the stress of such rapid change and such, just trying to keep up with Facebook, and to figure out, or calling it on Skype. But the other part of this that I think is so fascinating is I wanted you to talk to us a little bit about the microcosm of the personal heart and the macrocosm of global coherence. And why is it important on a personal level to be coherent, meaning not have so much jagged interplay between all of your brains, and to be coherent with all of your intelligences, right? And why is this so important in the macro scheme of things?
Well, it's a great question. Thank you so much for asking it. Let me answer it by starting with a belief that I have. I believe that we all live in this vast field of energy called consciousness that is reflecting back to us, not what we think in our minds alone, but what we feel truly in our hearts. That true part of ourself, that authentic part of us beyond the self-assumed roles that we take and who we are and what we are. That deeper part of ourself is communicating with this vast field of energy, and it's reflecting back. And that's the co-creative process that we are involved in that determines how we see ourselves, how we see others, how we see life, and how we see the world. Now, everybody's playing the same game. We're all in the same game together. Mm-hmm. And it's important for us to understand that we are all, in fact, connected. I think that's part of the new intelligence that's unfolding now in society. A lot of the research we do here at HeartMath today is on those type of subjects. We understand heart-brain-body communication in great detail now. That's not new to us at all. There's over 300 published research studies on HeartMath and over 7,000 research sightings in the research literature. So that stuff we got down. Where we move to now is understanding social coherence. What happens when groups of people are together and they're operating in a different place, a more heart-focused place? And there's a physiological and psychological state that comes about as a result of that, and it's called coherence. You used that term a minute ago. So in the more coherent state, what happens when groups of people are operating that way? How does it affect teams? How does it affect larger groups of people? And then taken beyond that, we're doing a lot of research now that's demonstrating the energetic connectivity that is taking place between all living systems. That every living system on this planet and beyond is connected through this vast web of energetic connections. So we're in this thing together. And it's important to understand that everything that we do affects everything else. I've had a belief for a long time, ever since I was very young, that the way that I could serve the most was by changing myself. And I believe that every change that I make, or every change you make, or every change any of our listeners are making, influences this field and somehow makes it easier for others to make a similar change. Every time we turn around an attitude, when we're going to, judge somebody, but instead we have compassion for them. Every time that we start to complain about something in our lives and instead we step back and we begin to appreciate things from a different angle. All those little pivots that we do during the course of a day, a week, a month, or a year are all contributing to an energetic field environment that we're all drawing from. And so the belief that I have is that we are in fact influencing each other through the actions that we take within ourselves. And that's the highest form of service that we actually have. They're the external forms of service, the more overt forms, me being an author, speaker, all of that, you being a host of the show and doing all the things that you do, Karen, and teaching courses. That's all important. But the most important thing is, what are we doing on the inside of ourselves? Mm-hmm. Because I believe that through those energetic connections, that's how we are really helping others. And that's how we are influencing the course of the future, really. So the energetic connection piece is something that we're working on in HeartMath, all the way down and all the way up, if I may, to understanding the energetic connections that are taking place between us people, the human race, and the planet itself, the Earth itself and the Earth's energetic fields. And that's the area of research that we focus on today.
So are you finding that there are measurable ways when people come together from a coherent heart place that actually impacts the energy of the planet? Can you measure that?
Yeah, we're working on that. We sure are. I mean, see, the Earth has energetic fields. There are a couple of them. One's called the geomagnetic field, which is what a compass measures. The other's called the ionosphere. It's less dense than the geomagnetic field. It works in consort with the geomagnetic field to provide a protective layer around our planet. Without these energetic fields, nothing resembling life could exist here. They protect us from incoming space weather, solar rays, solar winds, cosmic rays, all that stuff that's coming towards the planet is being buffered by these energetic fields. Now, these fields are very dynamic. They change all the time, and they fluctuate constantly. And there's been a lot of research already done, not by HeartMath, but by others, showing a definitive effect that these fields are having on us, on human health and behavior. Now, if that's true, I'll use some good old Southern boy logic on this and say, if these things are affecting me, maybe I'm affecting them too. Maybe there's a two-way conversation happening here. So we have developed the Global Coherence monitoring sites. We placed all around the world. Actually, there's about 7 or 8 of them now. There'll eventually be 12. And these sites are measuring the subtle changes occurring in the fields. And they're feeding all that information back to our research labs here in Northern California. And we are studying these fields. First of all, we're studying them to understand the fields better, to contribute to the academic literature. Secondly, we are doing research, very interesting and really cool research, showing the effects these fields are having on us, and they are global effects, they're not just individual. And lastly, we are testing this hypothesis that mass human emotion from the 7.3 billion of us that live here, whether that be positive or negative, is actually influencing these fields in a way that it can be measured. Now, this research will go on for a long time to see if that hypothesis is true or if it's not. But that's the scientific inquiry that we're involved in today, is understanding the Earth's fields and our relationship to them.
So, okay, I have to ask you a funny question.
All right.
As a scientist with heart intelligence, when you do scientific research, does your heart already know the answer?
No, that would take the fun out of life. We need some adventure, don't we? It's all I can do to keep up with what Howard Martin's doing on the inside. Now, but the heart, I guess at some level, at some quantum level, yes, the heart already knows the answer. But we have to go through a stepping stone process as we play the game of life to reach empirical understanding that can in turn be shared. When something is proven to be empirically true, it adds a lot of power to the belief. And that's part of why we use science. It's a bridge between what people feel inside and what's been said about heart spiritually and what can be applied in daily living. Science is the bridge we use to do that with.
Beautiful. Yes, absolutely. So you have a lot of different ways that people can really begin to awaken a deeper awareness of their heart and their heart's intelligence. Can you just give us a rundown of a couple of things that people can either access or things they can start with right away?
Here's what I like to suggest, and this is something that's real important to me personally these days. There's a movement, actually, Karen, that's happening in the world today where the qualities of the heart are coming more to the forefront of how we lead our lives, how people are cooperating, how people are basing their decisions. All that's happening, and it's a heart-related approach that's going on. Now, yeah, there's tons of problems out there, and they show up on the news. We see that every day, and we're getting beaten up by them. But the sort of the trajectory of evolution is moving us more towards a new level of cooperation, a new level of harmony and peace, which has everything to do with heart. So this movement of heart that's already happening is something that I'm doing a lot, and HeartMath is as well, to facilitate. And to do that, there's a program that I played a key role in developing that we came out with this year, not long ago. It's called the Add Heart Facilitator Program. And it's a program that you get our technology, which measures changes in your heart rhythms, and we won't get into that in our call today, but it measures your level of coherence. You get access to audio recordings that are short, about 20 minutes each, 6 of them. You learn a basic HeartMath technique. You learn some HeartMath science, and you learn how to share what you've learned with others so that you can add heart to everything you do. So there are professional applications for it. people that have taken this course, is, over a couple thousand people now that have taken this. They're adding heart professionally. They're putting it into their medical practices, or to their yoga classes, or to a fitness coach who's starting a session with an athlete before they get started, adding some heart to that session. And then there's the personal applications, people using it with their children, with their grandchildren, with their families. Lots of different ways that heart is being added. So the program is really designed to provide some structure so people can more consciously be adding heart to everything that they do. And when people finish the course, they take a little quiz. It's not hard. And once they pass that, they download a certificate, and they're what's called an approved Add Heart facilitator. They become part of the HeartMath family of all the trained people that we have. We have coaches, we have trainers, we have health professionals that have been formally trained and certified. There are about 7,000 to 8,000 of those around the world right now. And the Add Heart facilitators become part of that family. So that's one thing I'd like to suggest people do. Go to heartmath.com, click on the training tab, and then look for Add Heart facilitator. And that helps to create the movement. It's beneficial personally, but it also gives people the ability to add heart to whatever they do, to add heart to whatever contributions that they're already making to, towards creating a new and better world. That's one thing I would suggest, is to check out the Add Heart facilitator.
Beautiful. That sounds exciting. So there are so many, many, many more things I want to ask you about, because I just find this so incredibly fascinating. And I have to confess to you that I have been playing with the little app that connects to the phone and the little monitor that clips to your ear. And I have to just say, one odd thing I've noticed, and I've been working very hard now with this. I'm now on level 3, but just to kind of give us proof that perhaps we're more connected than we think. My animals, I have 2 dogs and 2 cats. If I stop moving for even a second now, it doesn't matter. They are all over me. I'm like a magnet for them. And it's really interesting. I think that they get it in a way that they didn't get it before. So
that's
especially one of my cats.
It's a good story. Well, what you're talking about is the Inner Balance Trainer. It's an app, and
yes.
you purchase a sensor, and then you plug the sensor into the app, and you can see your heart rhythms changing in real time. And as you practice various techniques, you see the changes. And what you're looking for is what's called a higher degree of coherence. And the app and the sensor train you to become more coherent. As you do, you're really changing your own energetic field. And animals are very sensitive to that. That's how they are more intelligent in many ways than we are.
Yes, absolutely.
They're very sensitive to that, so they're probably sensing that. I've had similar experiences with animals, and it's something that I think that they like. They resonate with that. It's a resonant frequency with many animals. Then they can respond to that, and so maybe that's part of what's happening with you. What I suggest is that you're right. There's many things we could talk about. Is we can, talk as long as we have time, this evening. But let's schedule another podcast sometime. Let's take it to the second level.
I would love to do that, because I think, the idea of waking people up to the power of the heart, and then talking about, and this is, I think, another long conversation, really talking about how do we consciously come together and co-create from that heart place during this time of transition and growth and expansion that is so accelerated. And I think, especially for those of my listeners who are very sensitive, a time that can feel really destabilizing personally. And I think a time when we're all being kind of called, those of us who are really actively growing in consciousness, to put pedal to the metal and come together and at least stabilize the environment so that it can move in a more loving and more conscious and deliberate pace and direction.
It's happening. It just needs more of it. I think that if there's one thing we should all consider right now that can help with it, is to just be more compassionate, starting with being compassionate to ourselves, recognizing we're good people doing the best we can. We're going to have times in our life when we don't meet our expectations or feel that we've met the expectations of others. We get down on ourselves. We feel stressed. We feel like, the world's, going the wrong way and it's a hopeless situation. All that, those thoughts can come up. When you find yourself there, the first thing you need to do is to start trying to move back the other direction. And to do that, activate a feeling of self-compassion. It's okay. So I say to myself, it's okay, little dude. It's all right. You know, it's like you're doing your best you can. This is a moment, but you don't have to stay in this moment for long, and define that compassion for yourself, and then offer that compassion to others. There's plenty of friction in the world today. The antidote for that is more compassion. If people just did that, it would be one of the most significant contributions they could make to the well-being of themselves and to others, and to ushering in this new world.
Absolutely. Beautifully said. Thank you. Howard Martin was our guest tonight, and you can find the HeartMath solution on Amazon, as well as the new book, Heart Intelligence, Connecting with the Intuitive Guidance of the Heart. To learn more about HeartMath, you can go to heartmath.com, where you can find information on that beautiful Add Heart program that Howard talked to us about, as well as other trainings and other kinds of tools and programs that are there for you. Thank you again so much, Howard, for joining us. I learned a lot, and I'm very much looking forward to continuing this quantum conversation again.
Karen, thank you for having me. Appreciate you having me so much, and I want to wish everybody well who's been listening to our conversation, and take good care, and please have compassion for yourself.
Yeah, thank you. When your heart is coherent, you sleep better, your focus improves, you feel calmer, you have decreased anxiety, decreased fatigue and depression. You also create peace and connection around you. The state of your heart and our natural desire to connect with the hearts of others not only increases our own state of health and well-being, it is through our hearts that we can be truly present to each other, rise above the things we think divide us, and create unity and peace. When your heart is coherent, it carries a higher frequency of energy that is broadcast through a magnetic resonance field that actually modulates the frequency of the hearts around you. Your heart has the ability to uplift those around you, to stabilize the energy of upheaval, and create peace in the world. By adding heart to your life and activating feelings of appreciation, love, compassion, kindness, and forgiveness, you not only feel better, science shows that you actually make it easier for the people around you to feel better too. Our hearts add to the energy of unconditional love and increase the chance of creating harmonious interactions with each other, helping humanity realize that we are truly one people, one tribe, one race, one heart, under the same sky, the same sun, and the same moon. Most importantly, our collective hearts set the course for our evolution. We will evolve. That part's inevitable. If we consciously evolve with heart, then the path to our evolution will be aligned with the full potential of humanity, the full potential of the human heart. It's time to consciously choose the course of our future. Let's do it with heart. If you'd like to discover the heart of who you truly are, please visit our Quantum Conversations Facebook page and get your free human design chart, your unique energy blueprint. While you're there, leave us a note and let us know who else you'd like to have a quantum conversation with. I'm Karen Curry Parker, sending out love from my heart to yours.
Thanks for listening to Quantum Conversations with Karen Curry Parker. For more information, visit joyfulmission.com.